Hey everyone, welcome back to the I Believe podcast. I'm Megan.
And I'm Danet.
And we have a very special episode this time. Danet is a host of this podcast, as you all know. Usually, Danet and I are hosting separate episodes. Sometimes we do it together. But today, this is a fun one because Danet is actually coming in more as a guest role. And so we're going to talk a lot about Scanxiety. Danet, you've just hit 5 years since your diagnosis. Let's talk about it.
Okay, well, you guys, I've done a lot of thinking about this in the last 5 years, so I hate to brag, but I'm a bit of an expert in my own Scanxiety because it's been 5 years every 3 months at a minimum. And those of you who have scans frequently, especially with a high risk prognosis, you know how that feels and you know just how disruptive to your life that it can be. So ultimately, though, I have kind of come to think about it as Scanxiety is this kind of emotional doomsday prepping, right? It's like pretending that I'm going to have the worst outcome possible, and so I have to be prepared for it. And I can't tell you that the feeling of anxiety is going to go away, right? That would be like telling you that the sky isn't blue because you know the sky is blue. And with a cancer diagnosis, that kind of anxiety and the scanxiety that comes up around scans, appointments, whatever it is, that's really just not going to go away. But I can tell you that it's possible to develop resilience and to develop the confidence and the skills to kind of go into your scans and come out of your scans without it derailing like a whole month or two of your whole life. Cancer doesn't deserve any more time than it's scheduled to receive. That's kind of my motto, especially this last couple weeks.
How often do you get scans?
Right now, it's a little weird. My last scan was actually 4 months ago, which is not normal. Normally, it's at least every 3 months. And then sometimes I have them a little more frequently. And so, like right now, I guess I'm kind of in a little bit of a limbo space. I get to go see my oncologist in a week or a day or two, and he will tell me, like, okay, well, here's what we want to do based on what we saw last week. So I don't really know. The nice thing, though, is the treatment that I'm having is an imaging-based procedure. So I don't feel as anxious if we don't have scans, like, quite to schedule because they always have eyes on my liver at some point. Like, so anyway. So anyway, normally every 3 months. Right now, it's a little in limbo.
And what do you do to prepare? Like you're going into this, we were talking Scanxiety. Actually, let's back up. Let's explain what is Scanxiety for anyone new to the community that's like, I've never heard this word.
Yeah, so Scanxiety is a term that I didn't come up with, right? Like I didn't invent this term. If you are on social media and any cancer circles, especially in the adolescent or younger adult population of cancer, then you might have heard this term because people talk about it as just a way to describe the feeling and the angst that comes up ahead of you having and the day of your actual like MRI or a PET scan or a CT or just whatever imaging procedure you have that you go and on a, it could be every 6 months, could be every 3 months. But that surveillance schedule, it then kind of like fills this pattern in your life. And I have just been able to notice with a lot of help from therapy. Therapy's great, guys. But I've been able to notice these patterns. And those patterns of anxiety rise leading up to the scans, and then they kind of peak at the time that I get those results, and then they come down after the scans. Even if I got really unfortunate news in my scans, right? Even if the scans were bad, there still is some level of like the anxiety comes down after the initial like, oh, I got the information is over. So really, it's just specifically a cancer community term to explain the anxiety around your surveillance, whatever that looks like. Like I said, that could include scans, but so for some people, just in the wider cancer community, that's just blood work, right? Some people only experience that kind of, we call it scanxiety because imaging scans, but you could also be experiencing the same kind of anxiety because you're waiting for a blood result or because you have some kind of a like liquid biopsy that they're checking, like a ctDNA test. Some cancer patients have that. In uveal melanoma, we are starting to get more of that, but it's more imaging based. So hence scanxiety.
That's a great definition. Okay, so you're having the Scanxiety, you're going into your scan. What do you do? What can people do about that?
Okay, so the first thing that I had to learn really early on to do, and it helps if you have a great medical team that's kind of backing you up in this, because it makes it so that you don't have to think about this step. But the first thing is that way in advance, whenever I finish my last scan, I usually have a follow-up with my doctor to go over, obviously, the results of scans. And then from that follow-up, he determines, or, she or he, that doctor then determines what's next. in terms of when do I want to look at your scans again. So if he says 6 weeks, then he's going to send it out. An order will go to the imaging center and then I get a call. And so instead of putting off that call, like I used to put it off, right? I used to put it off or tell the doctor's office, I can just schedule it myself later. Just tell me when it's ready. I now don't rely on that. I ask for help and I accept it when it comes. And so the medical team basically sends out the order and I check the order. I'm really meticulous. I'm like, guys, you have to make sure that it has the right contrast. You have to make sure that we're getting the right imaging center. I want to make sure that, the MRI is what we're doing and it's of the liver, not just the abdomen as a whole. So like, I just double check the things that makes me feel better. And then I wait for them to call me. And they usually call me like the day after I have my oncology appointment, which sometimes feels a little psycho, but then my scan is booked. And if they're every 3 months, I don't have to think about scheduling that thing for the rest of the next 3 months. It's already on the calendar. I've already been sent emails and they're going to remind me. So that is like my number one tip ahead of time is if you finish your scans or they're coming, just get them scheduled. And if you can get help to make them getting scheduled, like make getting them scheduled easier, then accept the help because the imaging center has a coordinator whose sole job is to coordinate with your oncologist and to coordinate with you. So I use that tool. That's like the best.
Yeah, and I think like anything in life, you can relate to that. If you just do it ahead of time, it's done, it's off your plate. If you sit and stress about like, oh, I got to call, I got to make that appointment, you're just going to stress yourself out. So I think that's a big one. And it seems like an obvious thing, but it's not because you think, I have time, I'll do that later.
Mm-hmm. Well, but then when you put it off, I mean, it's kind of like when you put something down in your house, right? You come in from the car, you've got groceries. You put the stuff that's cold, you put it away in the fridge, you put away the freezer stuff. And then you're just like, I've got some other stuff I need to put away, like maybe the toilet paper, stuff that's not in the kitchen. And you just set it down on the side counter and then you leave it. Like, I'll get to it later. And then all it does is take up mental space every time you look at it. And so that's kind of my thinking is I'm like, I'd rather not be inundated with extra reminders of like, have you scheduled your MRI? I want to be able to just forget that the scan is coming up because I'm a busy enough person. I've got 3 little kids. I've been doing this since my youngest was a baby and she's now in kindergarten. Like, I know that my life will get chaotic and it will be a lot easier if I just schedule it ahead of time. So that's my number one, like prepping like weeks ahead. So like, this could be, like I said, if your scans are scheduled 6 weeks apart, then that's going to feel a little more quick, right? It's going to come up faster, but you can still do the same thing. You can still get, okay, I had my scan, and you just tell your doctor, you tell your medical team, I want to be able to schedule my scans. And I want to be able to have them scheduled within the week of me having whatever scans we just had. Advocate for yourself, guys. Ask for what you want. And if you don't know if you like that idea yet, then maybe just give it a try. Because at the end of the day, like we're all kind of experimenting and it's trial and error to figure out what's going to be the best thing for you and what's going to be the best thing for me.
Yeah, and the other benefit of that is you can make plans because you know when they're going to be. So if you want to plan, a family barbecue or a vacation or whatever, you can plan for it. And also, I'm sure those spots book up. So just knowing you have your time slot and you're not going to, think about it at the last minute and then all of a sudden they can't get you in for a month. I'm sure that happens too.
Well, and there's I've talked to other patients too who they always go to the same imaging center and they have the same tech and the same radiology people and it helps when you are dealing with uncertainty, right? There's a lot of uncertainty around ocular melanoma. And when you're dealing with so much uncertainty, it helps to give yourself things that are less uncertain. And that means that sometimes you give yourself the routine. And the routine could be asking for to be in the same room, to ask for the same person. You may kind of have to figure out what's going to be best for you. I haven't really had a major issue in different people being my, the person who gives me the IV for the contrast. But because I go to the same location and I tend to have them on, a similar time of the day, I end up with the same people almost all the time. So it's kind of nice because then you see them and you recognize them. And again, it just adds that layer of, my brain doesn't have to be worried and questioning what's going to be new for me right now, because there's some stuff that's at least anticipated. Speaking of the actual, being in the scans, some of the things that I did early on, because I just didn't know, and I was feeling so much anxiety leading up to some of my scans I was having, I asked my oncologist for a prescription, an anxiety prescription that I could just take Could be the day of, could be the days before, could be just the actual like hour before my scan. And so if you're someone who knows that you're prone to, I mean, like I just didn't know, right? I'd never had MRIs before. So I figured, okay, if I don't know if I'm claustrophobic, maybe I should ask. And I should just say, can you just give me something for claustrophobia or like any of the little anxiety things, and just know that, you know, it's there as an option, even if I don't use it. That was helpful to me. So if you are someone who knows you're prone to that kind of anxiety, especially like in small spaces, ask for medicine. Ask for them to do whatever it is that they need to do to help you have a better experience while you're doing the scan, because that stuff does exist. I mean, you know, anti-anxiety medicine for specific circumstances, but you can also take anti-anxiety medicine for an everyday. But again, like that's not something, I'm not recommending everybody go do that, but like talk to your doctor and see if there's options of things that could support you.
Right. Like you said, advocate for yourself. The doctor's not going to say, hey, you look like you might have anxiety. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and honestly, I wish that oncologists would just lead with it and say, hey, you might feel kind of anxious and antsy and like all these feelings might come up before your scans. Here's what we can do about that. So if you have that come up, please know that like you can talk to me about it. And I know some doctors are a lot like that and others are not. Others are more like straight to business. But if, like I said, like if you know what you need, it's a lot easier to ask for it from other people.
Definitely. And, you know, like you said, with them being so different, I'm sure their own personal experience plays into it. If you have a doctor who's experienced anxiety, they're going to be a lot more sympathetic to it. If you have a doctor who doesn't have anxiety, they're going to, you know, just not think about it because it's not something that's presenting in their own situations.
Yeah, exactly. So just kind of like moving on with some other of the things that I do weeks ahead of time, right? This is not necessarily like the exact week ahead. It's like I'm saying basically from about 1 week out to as far as you have scans ahead, you know, like if you have them spaced out every 6 months, every 12 months, every 3 months, however many weeks or months that might look like for you. But for me, it's usually just weeks. It's, you know, a number of months, but it translates to like 12 weeks max. So I communicate ahead of time, like usually like maybe 2-3 weeks ahead of my scans, and I communicate with my online community. I communicate with my family, and I just let them know, hey, I need you to be aware that I have scans coming up this month. So if I am off, if I am, you know, a little more irritable, if I'm, I don't know, if you notice something about my behavior that you're a little concerned about, like I'm giving you permission ahead of time to tell me, because that's something that I can get support for, right? Like if I'm, I don't know, exhibiting like super anxious hyperfixation, then that's something my sister can tell me, like, hey, I've noticed that you're like really fixated on this. Maybe you should talk about that with your psychologist. Like I have a trauma psychologist that I see for therapy now, and he's great. He's so great. But like just communicating with your community so that you have people looking out for you. That I've also kind of done in the last, I don't know, maybe since April. I've engaged my online and my family, my wider community of people that, you know, love and care about me. I've engaged them in what I call a group energy project, because I don't subscribe to any specific like belief system, but I do believe that the energy of the universe, like the God, universe, source, all of the energy is beneficial. Like I really do, but I do believe that it helps and that it cumulatively makes a difference in the lives of other people, in my life. And so I have actually asked people for specific things that I want ahead of procedures, ahead of scans, like, because there's all these things we don't want, right? Like there's a lot of things that we don't want. We don't want progression to happen. We don't want to have the scans to begin with. We don't want to feel sick. Like we don't want to feel all those things. But if there's anything that I've learned in working with my therapist and with, actually, I started working with Craig, who Megan has interviewed on our podcast here. So if you guys haven't watched Craig's interviews about hypnotherapy, please go watch them. He is so incredible. And I've worked with him like as one of his personal clients for the last few months, and it has been life-changing. So little kudos to Craig there. But doing that has just taught me to stop putting out there, because it's easy in therapy or with my friends. It's really easy to just go into the idea of like, well, when I have this happen, like I don't want the IV to hurt and I don't want this. And instead, like what Craig has been helping me kind of train myself to do is to say what I do want. Like I want my IV to go in really easily. I want the contrast to not like feel uncomfortable. I want to be able to like take really good breaths whenever I have to breathe with the MRI machine. Like talk about what you do want, because when you talk about what you want, your brain goes looking for it, and the universe, in my opinion, delivers that back. So I've specifically asked my community to like know ahead of time for procedures, scans, things like that, and just rally around me with their energy. And I feel like it's made a really big difference in my ability to cope.
Aura Biosciences is a clinical stage biotechnology company focused on developing precision therapies for solid tumors that aim to preserve organ function. Our lead candidate, Belsar, is currently in late-stage development for primary choroidal melanoma and in early-stage development in other ocular oncology indications and bladder cancer. Our mission is to grow as an innovative global oncology company that positively transforms the lives of patients. For more information, please visit us at aurabiosciences.com.
I love everything you just said. I think it's so important. And I think that's one of those things that people just kind of disregard because it's not the typical medical, it's not fact, it's not black and white in your face. It's hope. It's it's not this tangible thing you can just put in front of you. And I think exactly. It's so much more powerful than people will give it credit for.
Yeah, I love it. And I think it makes a really big difference when you like kind of switch what your brain is focused on, right? It's just a small switch. And I've talked about this before, like there's what ifs, right? That's all existential crisis doomsday prepping is it's just your brain going, what if? And the times that I'm able to kind of flip that on its head and say, what if the good instead of what if all the bad? Or what if all the things I'm afraid of versus what if, what if's a possibility is what I started calling them years ago. And I feel so much better as a person. I'm much more present with my life, which honestly, like I said, guys, cancer doesn't get to take up more space than I or you choose to give it. Bottom line. So I have to own the times when it does take up more space, and scans honestly are part of that time, right? When I've got appointments or procedures or any of the anxiety related to these things, I have to be a little more conscious. So hence what we're talking about. But speaking of things you focus on, one of the things you talked about earlier was like when your scans are coming up, you can schedule things. That's something that I would highly suggest. We've had patients on the podcast who I've talked to, I'm sure Megan's talked to a few, who when we talk about scans, we talk about surveillance or just whatever it is that you have coming up. Almost every single person I've talked to has always said it helps to find things that you're looking forward to and plan for those the day of scans, plan for them the weekend after scans. Like you'll get the feeling for what is, your results timeline. Some people have to wait an entire week. It just depends on what medical center you're at, where you're at in the country, where you're at in the world, really. Some people get their scans on a Tuesday and they won't hear back from their doctor for another week or two. And that can be really, really debilitatingly you can feel a lot of anxiety around that, right? You could. And it's not fun. It's really not fun. But if you can find things that you can look forward to and schedule them ahead of time, like a trip or a movie or a facial or a massage, pick what's good for you. Get out and go to the bar with friends if you drink. But do something for you that is not in any way related to cancer and have it be something you do regardless of the results. Doesn't matter. The results do not matter. You're not rewarding yourself for being cancer-free for another 3 months. I'm sorry. That's out of your control. You're rewarding yourself for making it through the build-up, for making it through the day of. So, figure something out that you want to do and do that for yourself. Just, give it a try. It's honestly really kind of fun.
That's such a great idea. You're adding that positive element. You have to do this icky thing, but you also get this great thing. I think that's great.
Okay, so we've kind of talked about way ahead of time, right? Months ahead of time, weeks ahead of time. But there is some specific stuff that I've been doing, I don't even know, probably for at least a couple years since I got a metastatic diagnosis, which I know Megan mentioned that I'm 5 years into OM. So my eye was diagnosed 5 years ago, July 31st of 2020. But I also had metastatic disease that was found in the summer of 2022. So I'm now 3 years into my metastatic journey. So yay, living with cancer. Super fun. But days ahead. So I'm talking 7 or less days ahead of my scans. I really have to look ahead. I've got 3 little kids, so I have to simplify my schedule. That means that the couple of days ahead of time, I look at what's there and I cut out anything that is extra. If I've planned for the kids to have doctor's appointments, I typically will move them. Or I will ask somebody else to take them, right? I would have my husband help, or I would have one of the community members or our family members help with just helping, right? I look for ways that I can put less on me so that I can just have like, I don't know, just boundaries, right? Like just boundaries for myself, because I'm about to go into a day where my boundaries of holding cancer back are about to all come down. And so I need a little like kind of mental prep for that. I have like clear work cutoffs, right? So if I'm working for the day, I give myself whatever my time limit is, or whenever I clock in or clock out, so to speak. I have really clear work cutoffs. So maybe if you're a working person and you go into an office, maybe this means you shut your phone off at whatever time you leave work, and that's it. Nobody can get a hold of you for the rest of the evening. They can't be like in your space, because all that does is it creates this like clutter for me where I'm like, if I'm constantly responding to other people's demands, I'm less present with myself, and that doesn't feel as good. I don't like feeling reactive. I like to feel proactive, and I like to feel responsive. And I can't do that if I'm basically at the mercy of everyone else. So with work especially, but even with your doctor's office, right? You don't have to have your phone on all the time. You can turn your phone into do not disturb for the whole day. And then you can pick who goes, like there's so many settings on our phones that we can like pick who's allowed to send us a text. And I get notified and actually have to pay attention. So just having those boundaries with yourself, with people, with work, something that I did this last week, really, like my kids went to school on a Thursday and my scans fell on a Friday, and I ended up like just taking some time to clean, like because I was originally going to have my house cleaned by somebody else, and then anyway, there was a whole thing, but I cleaned it myself, and I just took it in phases and just, did what I wanted. But having that kind of clean, decluttered space made a huge difference in like just clearing my head so that I could just be focused where I needed to be, like with my kids, with my, with my family, making dinner, like whatever it is that I wanted to focus on, I could be there for it. And there was not a big messy house for me to be like, like stuff is everywhere. Because I'm not even joking, like that's how it feels for me. But it's also like a mindless kind of distraction. Like it keeps your brain busy, but in a way that's like it doesn't require a ton of thought, right? To wipe down the counter, to vacuum, to mop, any of those things. Like it doesn't require tons of thought. So finding something that like gives you that little escape. I mean, there's so many different things. That helps a lot, but I just found it really valuable, at least this last time, to like clean ahead of time because like, here's the thing. If I'm going to emotionally doomsday prep, right? If I'm going to prep for anything bad, I would like it to be things that feel good. And cleaning my space, cleaning my room, cleaning my house, that feels good to me. So I liked doing that. The other thing that I did this last time, and that I have really been more intentional this last year, at the advice of my therapist, was deciding ahead of time when I wanted results, right? So like I said, some of us, the results are way out of our control. And so some of you guys are listening and you're like, well, my doctor's really slow and they don't tell me anything and my chart never gets updated. Some of us, like me, have radiology teams that are like, I swear it's like they think it's a race. And so they finish my scans, and sometimes I get home and I've been home for 2 minutes and I have a scan result. And I'm like, I can't deal with that. So I've done it where I've just opened the results as soon as they come in. And I will tell you, to be reactive versus responsive or proactive feels totally different in opening those results, regardless of if they're good news or stable news or bad news. It doesn't matter. Like the results don't matter, but the way that I open them and the time that I have like chosen to designate for I'm going to open my results, it makes a big difference. So I really intentionally choose when to look at my results, when I'm ready for any and all of the things that I could feel, right? It doesn't matter. Good, bad, ugly, in the middle. I want to be in a space where I actually feel prepared for that. And walking in the door immediately after I have my scans and I've been gone for 6 hours doesn't sound fun for me. So this time at least, I chose to like completely delete my chart from my phone because it was a Friday afternoon. If those of you understand, Friday afternoons are not the best time to have scans. The likelihood of you getting a result is low. I had 3 different imaging reports for them to write up, and the likelihood of me getting all 3 of them by the end of day on Friday was like second to none. So I just decided it's just not even worth it to try to look. Plus my kids were home from 2 days of school, hadn't seen them like all day on Friday because I was gone for scans longer than normal. And so I just decided that that didn't feel good and that I was going to delete my email notifications and my chart. Like the apps are gone. Like they don't exist on my phone for that period of time. And because then I don't have to rely on the doctor's office, like giving me changing the notification settings, because they can change it. They can like not email you, and it will not email you the little thing that says you have a test result. Like you can ignore that. And so that was a conscious choice for me this time. And I've done that a time or two before. Sometimes I do it for a few hours. Sometimes I do it for a day or two, because I don't like feeling like I've gotten partial results. And I also like to be able to open those results at a time that I feel mentally and emotionally prepared for any and all possibilities. The last part of that, like prepping for the results part that I do, is that I actually I do choose, and this is my choice, like not everybody does this, but I do choose to look, regardless of whenever I receive those results, I do choose to look at them before I meet with my oncologist for a follow-up. And the reason for that is that if I'm going to be sad, because sometimes I've had scans that I'm like debilitatingly sad and afraid, if I do have that happen, I want time to process that. And obviously good news is great, right? We love good news and we celebrate good news. It's great to celebrate, but I also know, because I've been doing this long enough, that sometimes there's questions. Sometimes there's things your doctor or the radiologist doesn't know. It could be cancer. It could just be a cyst. It could be something totally benign. But I would rather have the emotional fallout before I see my doctor, so that I can go into that doctor's visit feeling like we can actually make a plan, and not that my doctor is going to have to try to play therapist and help me process my feelings. So I don't always do this with a therapist. I'm practiced enough to like do this on my own. But if you are having a hard time feeling like you're afraid to open your scans, then maybe you talk with someone, like a good support person or your therapist or whoever it is that you feel you could open those scans with and process whatever you read. Like have a buddy, right? Like somebody on the phone with you, somebody in the room with you, like just some kind of a way that supports your emotional status, regardless of what happens. Anyway, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it makes total sense. And I am a very private person with my emotions. I don't like vulnerability in front of people. I don't like to cry in front of people.
Me.
Right. So I feel like I would be just like you. I would want to know ahead of time. I would want to have, my emotions by myself, and then go in a little more centered. And not that you're not going to be emotional there too, but at least you've gotten that first wave of it by yourself. I think that's totally what I would do too.
Yeah. Well, and like as far as the feelings go too, sometimes even with all of the preparation, right? All of the routines and the things that I do to make myself feel good, all of those things leading up the weeks or the days before, sometimes I'm still really emotional. Like this time my scans were happening right after my 5-year anniversary. Like that's an emotional time of my life, right? My 5-year cancer diagnosis anniversary, that's just by nature emotional. And then on top of that, all of my kids went to school the day before, including my baby, who was a baby when I was diagnosed. So like the emotional layers that I was feeling this last week were like absurdly stacked. There were many. And I talked about them in therapy, and I just tried as much as I could to process. And what I ended up actually doing the night before, so like 2 nights before my scans, it was like Wednesday night, and I was having a really hard time going to sleep before the kids' first day of school. And I just decided that, you know what, like I don't feel like writing, like handwriting. Sometimes I journal and I write something down in a notebook on my bed. But I just went ahead and just journaled on paper. Like I just typed out on my computer, like everything I was feeling, all the things that I was feeling triggered by. And there's just something different, right? Like it's one thing to talk to somebody, but it's another to like write it out. And anyway, I found that really, really helpful. So like if you're not a vocal processor like me, then maybe writing and just writing it down. And there's no expectations, right? Nobody has to read this journal. You can burn it later if you want. I mean, I actually would encourage you to burn it. I've done that before, and like burning things leading up to my scans or leading up to like a liver procedure, it actually feels really, really great. So anyway,
actually, there is something to that. When you write negative, like fears and emotions, and you burn it, there's something to like burning that energy.
Yeah,
that
like you're energetically releasing it.
And it helps you release it. So that is a thing.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I did a lot of journaling, a lot of crying, not gonna lie. Like I did a lot of crying leading up to my actual scans. And then the day of, like, do you feel like we're ready to go to the day of, or do you have any other questions?
I think we're ready.
Okay, so day of scans. Ha ha ha. All right, so I don't just do this the day of. On a good day, I would meditate every single day, but finding a simple, short recording to just kind of center myself at any point during the day. Sometimes my scans are in the morning, sometimes they're in the afternoon, but I'm just going to walk you through this Friday because it was a really good day. So this Friday, I woke up, got my kids off to school, which was very early. They have to leave at like 7 in the morning, you guys. It's so early. But I sat down on the floor. Actually, I lay down on the floor because I like to ground my body. And I just popped my earphones in and I started listening to one of the hypnotherapy recordings that Craig has given me because I am one of his clients. And that just alone, like it's basically the meditation that I choose to use more frequently these days is actually one that it focuses a lot on gratitude and like on remembering like happy things, right? Happy memories, good memories, victories, like things, like times that you felt like on top of the world. And so it really gets me in a really good mind space. So that was the first thing I did. And lots of water. And those of you who have scans, like, I mean, I don't know, do you guys like share, those of you guys watching the YouTube video, tell us in the comments. I want to know, does your doctor and your scan team tell you to fast water and food for up to 6 hours before your scans? Because I've heard mixed things from a few people, and some people it's like no big deal. Other people are just told don't eat for like 2 hours beforehand. Like it is so mixed. So tell us below, like, what does your doctor tell you? Because my doctor tells, well, not my doctor, but the medical team that does the scans always is like nothing to eat or drink 6 hours prior. That was fun. So, I choose to do 4 hours for drinking water because I can't not drink water. I live in Arizona, guys. It's hot. It's very, very hot. But I was fasting, but I also was not done because my scans were scheduled in the afternoon. I was at a point that I could actually afford to exercise and still be ahead of that 6 hours. To be able to have lots of water and things like that. So I did like super light exercise. Like I do rebounding sometimes, maybe yoga, but just picking some kind of body movement that feels good for me. That felt really good. I was listening to just during my workout, I was like listening to music, and it's music that I have in a playlist. I've actually made a playlist like forever ago. And every time I have a song that I like and that I like how it makes me feel, I put it on that playlist because it's just an empowering feeling to use things like music or even like an audiobook or affirmations, like something that just helps you get in that space of confidence. Because at the end of the day, I know, right? And I'm telling you this because, maybe you're like, well, why is that going to matter? It matters because how you feel matters. It doesn't change the results, right? It's not going to change what the pictures show on those scans. You going into those scans feeling like an anxious mess is not going to make them somehow worse. Okay, I want to just affirm that for you. For those of you who are super anxious and you're like, well, I don't think I can do that. What if it makes it worse? That's just anxiety talking. It's never going to make it worse. Or better. Like the fact that you're going into it just feeling like like a whole human being instead of a being that is like imprisoned by cancer, that is just what matters. So this is more just about my personal state of being. But I feel so much better like when I do the things like this. And I also I mentioned this for the week before, but I also the actual day of, unless I have specific like people, like my kid's school, my husband, maybe my mom, I turn off all notifications on my phone. And if I don't have the time to figure that out, like to, go in and change the settings, then I actually just turn it on to airplane mode and I just ignore everybody and trust that if the school has an emergency, they'll call my husband. So kind of like cutting out that distraction, that need to respond to other people so that you can just be present for yourself. That makes the world of a difference. And then I also plan and book sometimes the day before or the day of, but I do something called a sauna afterwards as a way to help detox contrast. That's just a personal preference. That's something that I've done a lot of personal research around in the holistic setting. But it's just a way, like sweating is one of the best ways that our bodies can detox from bad things, right? From sickness, from toxins, like all those things. And I don't love having contrast, and I would rather feel like I'm doing something to get it out of my body faster, right? And especially because some of the contrast, like if you have an EOVist contrast, they're always asking you, well, how's your kidney function? Well, the best thing you can do for kidney function is to drink tons and tons of water after. And if you're drinking tons and tons of water and you also do a sauna, the flush that happens is great. Like it just, I actually spent the whole weekend feeling fantastic because I did so much to like support the detoxing after.
Castle Biosciences is a proud sponsor of this I Believe podcast. Castle's innovative uveal melanoma tests provide valuable information about the risk of your eye cancer spreading to help you and your healthcare team individualize the management of your disease. To learn more, visit castlebiosciences.com.
So if you haven't tried a sauna, feel free to reach out or, look around. Like I actually found a wellness bar a while ago, like years ago, and that's what they do. They have, various different therapies like a sauna or, I don't know, dry float therapy or just various different things to support overall like body wellness. But I plan for that. And I actually plan it for like, okay, my scans are at 1:00. I should be done, with scan 1, 2, and 3 because they do them all back to back. And then I book for whatever time I'm going to be done. So I just do scans and then I go straight to a detox place if I can do that. I can't always, but if I can, that's my ideal. So that's what happened this week is I did that. And then honestly, you guys, like I said, I just deleted my chart. I got home and my kids were home. We were ready to have dinner. I was feeling good. I told them I needed to go take a shower because if you go in a sauna, you get very sweaty and it's gross. So I did that and like just kind of felt like a whole human again. But I also already had deleted my email notifications. And then just because my family is also we're all kind of prone to anxiety in my family. And I told them, hey, here's what I did and why. And I just am letting you know so that you don't bug me all weekend. Like, because I am trying not to bug myself about it and not to hyperfixate on the lack of or presence of results. So I'm asking for you to support me in this and you're going to help with distracting me. But, you really don't have to ask me, like, do you have your scan results? Because the answer will be no, until at least Monday morning. That was what I told them. And I actually stuck to my guns on that one. Like, I really stuck to it, and it felt so good this weekend, you guys. Like, I can't recommend it enough.
That's amazing. I love that you went in with such a plan, but it was all things that were, like, positive and helpful to you. It wasn't like you were over micromanaging, to like, I don't know if I'm saying that in the right way, but it was like such a positive plan where I think sometimes like we can plan too much where we're then a slave to our plans, but this wasn't that. This was giving yourself all of these positive things that you could do to like just make yourself feel better and lift yourself up. And I think that going in prepared like that is really wonderful.
Yeah. Well, and like, I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of the anxiety for me is wrapped up in all the things that I don't know the answers to, right? So my goal, like overall with anything that I do ahead of my scans, after my scans, all of the, even just with like procedures, like any of it, with treatments, because we are introduced to lots of new things with our cancer, like new results, new treatment options, new lab changes, because the human body is changing like literally from minute to minute. So I could have labs drawn this morning and then they would look different tonight. Like I don't have any control over that, but we are constantly inundated with this flux of information and this possibility of uncertainty. So if I don't know the answers, then what I can do is I can give myself simple answers or simple kind of like plans to as many of the possible unknowns that I can anticipate ahead of time. That's my goal. And then I'm no longer stuck in this anxious spiral because my brain is not focused on all the what ifs. It's now like, okay, we've taken care of the major threats. So we're just gonna ride this out for the moment. That's kind of how it feels. And so even if the plans that I make are like totally pretend, I don't have, and I can acknowledge, right? Like that I don't actually have any idea how any of this is going to turn out with every scan. It still helps to give my brain some sort of expectation that's realistic and just to like answer some of the questions of uncertainty. Obviously, some of it can't be answered right away, but that's okay. And the stuff that I can answer just is like, the more times you can give your brain an answer to the questions it's having, the better your brain is going to feel. Like that's just what I have continued to find like time and time again. And if I can do that and feel better, like going into my scans, then like, why not?
Yeah, 100%. I think that that's such a good way to look at it. And I think that a lot of people watching this right now are probably thinking, oh, this is like way easier than I would have made it in my own mind. If I was
tend to
trying to come up with a
overcomplicate
plan.
things.
Yes, absolutely we do. And these are simple things like plan some time to just be by yourself with your phone off. Plan, to go to a sauna, or maybe go get like a green juice, something you feel like is going to put some health in your
I
body.
got a smoothie after because I had been fasting. So then after I went and got myself like a really good, like greens, like tasted good, protein, like whatever I felt like sounded good. I went and got that because I was like, I'm not going into a sauna, because a sauna is kind of a cardiovascular activity. It's like in research, like going into a sauna for 30 minutes is like equivalent to some degree of time, like cardiovascular exercise wise. So it's actually like heart healthy to do sauna exposure. But anyway, I was like, I should probably not do that with nothing in my stomach. So I should go eat. So I did that, and it felt so good. I think at the end of the day, it's, again, kind of back to what I said before, like it's not rewarding yourself because the scans are good. It's rewarding yourself with like these little treats, these little things that you're expecting, these little dopamine receptor like things that happen in your day, or that you choose to let happen because you did it, right? Because you went to the office, you sat in the MRI machine, you let them give you an IV that poked into your arm and probably hurt, and then you left. Like you did those things, and that's worth celebrating. Like you allowed cancer the time it was scheduled, and then you walked away from it. That's something that you deserve to celebrate. And I can't push that enough. Like I feel like all of us as patients should be able to just separate ourselves from cancer and to celebrate that we were able to do that, even if it's just for a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. And, the alternative is you leave your scans and you go home and you just sit and worry and think and
you just sit and you spiral, and then the what ifs are there, and that doesn't feel good. I'm not going to tell you that I haven't done it. Like I've absolutely done it. I have. And then sometimes you get results you didn't like, and then you're spiraling more. So we're not going to talk about that. We could talk for hours about the rest of that and like processing news and all of that. But ultimately, I hope that this has been helpful, like for those of you listening, in just like, okay, what can I do to kind of approach my scans a little differently? Especially if you're like me and you're prone to anxiety. And I know like maybe listening to me talk, you don't think that I am, but like, guys, I really am. I used to get debilitating stomach aches before my scans, like so bad I would like think that my liver was in trouble because my stomach hurt that bad. And it was a stomach ache. Like that, it was literally like heartburn manifesting itself in a stomach ache because I was so anxious. And so I really had to practice and try out and trial and error, figure out things that work for me. And the times that they don't work, I have to just be willing to accept that that's okay, and I can try something different. There's nothing wrong with your routine not helping you, the next time you do it. It just means you got to tweak the routine. So, okay, before we end, we should talk about results, because I did get results. And I want to just like preface this with, again, like the answer is not, or the thing that I'm rewarding myself or that I'm celebrating here is not the results themselves. It's the how did I approach getting the results, and did I feel, as in control of a lot of things that are out of my control as possible. So I had an appointment on Monday morning for labs in my oncologist's office. And so instead of me downloading my chart on Monday, because I did tell my family I would at least check come like Monday afternoon, but I still wasn't optimistic. I was like, I don't know if they're going to have gotten those results updated. It might take at least till the afternoon, because I don't know where my results fall. And 3 results is just a lot for a radiology team to get through. And so I checked with my team and I just said, hey, can you just check my chart on your end and tell me if you see 3 imaging results? If you don't, I don't want to check yet. And they were like, yeah, we'll check. So a couple minutes go by and they came out and they talked to me and they're like, yeah, it looks like we see all the reports. And I'm like, okay, cool. So as soon as they told me that, like, I kid you not, my heart rate rose and I could feel myself like, breathing faster, like anxiety, right? Like I'm feeling anxious. And so I took a minute because I was in the waiting room and there was actually a girl that I was talking to, and we were in the middle of a conversation when I got this information from the nurse, right? So the nurse comes, she like interrupts my conversation, tells me, yeah, your reports are all there. And I'm still talking to this girl. And I decided that, okay, I'm going to look at them, but like, I'm going to take a minute. I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm not going to approach this again, like from a reactive point. I'm going to choose when I want to do that. And so I finished my conversation. She got called back for her appointment. And then I didn't have anybody around me other than just the front desk receptionist, who's like my best buddy. We talk about books like every appointment. Jamie, shout out to you. We talk about books like all the time, and that's it. So then we talked about books for a little bit because we had been talking about books before I started talking to this other girl. And so I just finished some of these conversations while I was waiting for the apps to download. And then I just waited. And when I finally did look at it, I just read one at a time, and I couldn't even, I think I picked the CTs because they do a CT of the chest, and this time they did CT of the chest and CT of the pelvis. So I checked those first. No, actually, no, I didn't. I checked the MRI. But at the top of the scans, there's always an impression, right? It'll say like the wording on the document says impression, and the impression is the kind of the overarching summary of the scans. And the first line that I read on there, I didn't panic. Like I read it and I felt some level of relief, and I was like, okay, because the first line that they read and they led with was that there was nothing new present in my scans. And I'm like, cool, that's great. So then I closed out of the MRI because I'm like, I don't want to read the rest of the MRI yet. I'm going to go check the other stuff. So then I checked the other ones, and all of the other ones say, no visible evidence of metastatic disease, which they're typically used to seeing in a CT for a very long time in metastatic management, but they still do check. So that was reassuring. So then I'm going into the next, like, okay, I'm going to look at my MRI, but I'm going to look at it with like, I've got some good news on my side here. So then even if it wasn't what I wanted, it's still better than, me feeling like, but I opened the rest of it and I just started reading through, and I just gave myself some space to be like a little confused because it was a different radiologist who wrote the report than usual, which drives me insane when different people write it. I would rather the same person write it every single time, but I understand job turnover. Like, I get it. But I read the report and had plenty of questions, but I also know that I have an oncology appointment a couple days after this. And so I was like, okay, I've got questions. The good news is they said there's nothing new. I have questions, but like, it's not going to help me to fixate on those questions yet because I can't get answers to them until I talk to my doctor. Because I don't know how to read a radiology report. Well, I know how to read a report. I don't know how to read an MRI. Right? I don't know how to look at the imaging that they have uploaded in the back end of the portal and like scroll through the pictures of the liver and understand what it is that I'm seeing. So I know my doctor can do that. And so I honestly just let everybody in my circle know what I saw, and that was it. Like, we just moved on, and I told them like, I'll let you know like come Wednesday when I have more answers. But ultimately, I think bottom line, I had given myself enough reassurances that like, okay, and like those of you who know Clay Butler, who passed away from the ocular melanoma community, he was so good about talking about scans from this idea that they're just information. They don't have to be anything other than that. They're just information. They're just a clock in time, like a picture in time of like, what does your body look like today? And your doctor uses that information to inform decisions of when are you going to have scans next? Or what treatment are we going to try? That's it. It's just info. So it doesn't have to be this big, scary, monstrous thing, because that's all it is. At the end of the day, it's a picture. A picture can't hurt me. Anxiety, however, can. It can definitely debilitate me to the point that I can't function. So anyway, to be determined for the rest of like what's going on there and what do these results mean. But ultimately, I feel like, I'm going to give myself a pat on the back. I'm going to celebrate the fact that I did a really, really good job this last few weeks of managing what could have been really, really scary anxiety.
Absolutely. And as you should, because those are very big feelings and very big emotions. And it's a lot to deal with, no matter if it's your first time or your 150th time. It's a big, big deal. So congratulations for giving yourself that room to do it and giving yourself the tools to do it. Those are huge things.
Yeah, I love it. So anyway, hope this has been helpful for you guys if you're listening. And then if it hasn't, take it with a grain of salt that I'm, an expert in my own journey. I'm not an expert in yours. So I really hope that you guys are able to figure it out. Just know that I think it's possible for all of us to figure it out, to like find the resilience, to kind of claw your way back up out of the pit of despair every time you do fall into the pit, because I fall into the pit sometimes. Like, I'm not going to lie. So anyway, lots of love to you guys, and I hope to be able to chat more next time.
Absolutely. And before we go, we just want to thank our sponsors. They make this podcast possible, and without them, we can't bring any of this to you. So check them out. They do great things for our community. Also, stop by our website, acureInsight.org. There's a button at the top, sign up for our newsletter. We send we send a monthly newsletter that has all kinds of information, everything you need to stay up to date in the ocular melanoma community. And we've got 5Ks going on. Check our social media. Please give us a follow on any platform you're on. We've always got a lot of great events going on. Right now, we're running Sight Through Life through the end of August. We encourage you to join. It's free to join. You can earn points by doing really simple things like wearing blue on Monday. Like, those are things you can get points for and share. And then we are trying to raise $100,000 by August 31st. So join us there. Like I said, it's free. We're not asking you to fund it. We're asking you to share to help us fund it. So please do that. And that's all for me. So we will see you guys next time.
Sounds good. And guys, make sure if you haven't already, register for I Believe. If you want more of these kinds of tips and tricks, you want people to help talk, therapists, lifestyle coaches, doctors, like they're going to talk to you about not only managing your disease and navigating this, but also like the latest in research. If you guys were present for Eye on Research this last weekend, oh my gosh, it was so good. And that was just a taste, you guys. We've got so much more we're going to be able to talk about come October. So I believe October 11th, 10th and 11th, I think. And we're going to be out in North Carolina, right?
Yeah. And
yeah,
Raleigh.
So it's going to be super fun. Come see us.
Yes, absolutely. Please come see us. Please sign up. It is free. It is funded. So, there's
solely
no
by
reason...
sponsors. Like we get huge sponsorships to make it so we can go to an awesome hotel, have an incredible event that is professionally produced, and then we get to provide you guys with time to meet and mingle, but also to learn. And to empower yourself to be a better self-advocate in your own chronic illness. Because that's what I've learned that this is. It's kind of a chronic disease.
Yeah. And Danet, will you be there? You'll be there, right?
I'm planning on being there. All things point to me being able to be there, at least as far as the dates predicted as for my treatments go. But yeah, that's my plan.
Perfect.
Worst case, we'll pivot and adjust. But yeah, we're going to be there. So come see us, guys. Come spend time with us, especially if you're on the East Coast and it's easy to get out there.
Yes, and we hope that we see you there. If you come, please come introduce yourself to us, talk. I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to hang out, but we would love to get to know you and see you there. So definitely sign up for that. And guys, just keep tuning in, keep commenting, liking, and doing all the things you're doing. It's helping us so much, and we just really appreciate you for being here.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you next time.
Bye, everyone.